Adelaide Oval, the most beautiful cricket ground in the world and the home of the South Australian Cricket Association. We've been playing cricket here since December 1873, and for the Saka, it began even earlier. During a meeting held on May 31st, 1871, at the Prince Alfred Hotel, now the site of the Adelaide Town Hall, local cricket clubs agreed that there was a need for a central cricket ground. The minutes of the meeting are now etched in history. This meeting considers it desirable to at once form an association to be called the South Australian Cricket Association and pledges its support thereto. Just 1 week later, it was agreed to secure a portion of the North Parklands, an area now known as Adelaide Oval. Memberships were sent to every cricketer in the region, and to this day, we are a proud member-driven organisation. In fact, we are the largest sole cricket membership in the world.
We love cricket. We always have and we always will. The romance of that first ball of the match and the captivating sound of bat on ball. And the respect from the crowd as they applaud an opponent following a brilliant performance.
Brian Lara disappears into the standing Adelaide Oval crowd.
We have such a proud history. W.G. Grace played here in 1874, and just 10 years later, we hosted our maiden test match, just 5 months after Lord's first ever test. The Sheffield Shield competition started in 1892, and we won our first title the next year. In total, we have triumphantly lifted the Shield on 13 joyous occasions. It is humbling to think of the players that have graced this hallowed turf. George Giffen, the world's greatest all-rounder and South Australia's first Test cricketer and Test captain. Joe Darling, the first batsman to score 3 centuries in a Test series and captain Australia in 3 Ashes campaigns. Clem Hill, the most prolific run scorer in Test cricket history at the time of his retirement in 1912. Clary Grimmett, the world's leading Test wicket-taker from 1936 until the mid-1950s. And of course, a young player born in country New South Wales, who came to Saka in 1934 in what is still regarded as the biggest transfer in Australian sporting history. Sir Donald Bradman, quite simply the greatest cricketer of all time, calling the greatest cricket ground in the world home. He captained Australia and South Australia until his retirement in 1948 and continued his involvement with Saka until 1986. What an impact the Don had on this place. Saka patriarch Neil Nodder Dancy remembers him well.
What I value most of all was the opportunity to bat with Sir Donald for the first time. As I walked into bat, he met me and said, "Son, I'll let you have a look at him for a while." And I don't think I faced a ball in the first 6 overs.
This oval echoes the names of champions. Gil Langley, Neil Hawke, Barry Jarman, Les Favell. And what about the Chapel boys? Ian, arguably the best Australian captain ever.
And that time, good shot from Chapel. Glance, the leg glance, the old-fashioned leg glance, we can call that, right down to the boundary.
And Greg, one of the most delightful stroke makers in the history of the game.
And he's hit that hard and high. It's come out towards the boundary. It won't be 6, but it's going over the fence or hitting the fence on the second bounce.
3 brothers from the Glenelg Cricket Club who all represented their country.
Then the young man from West Torrens who left his mark on the centenary test, David Hookes.
And through again. It's racing out towards the boundary. It might get there. Let's see what happens. It's very close indeed. And the ball will win 5 in a row. Hookes from 36 to 56 in 5 balls.
In 1982, he scored a century in 43 minutes, facing just 33 deliveries. Can you imagine if Hooksy played in today's T20 era? He was made for it. Hooksy's great mates in Wayne Phillips, Tim May, Peter Sleep, and of course the trio of stars who dominated the 90s, Lehman, Blewett, and Dizzy Gillespie, true greats and proud South Australians. The pioneers of women's cricket in Chris Garwood and Faith Thomas, the first Indigenous woman to represent Australia in any sport. Thanks to the unbreakable foundation they and others have laid, anything is possible for future generations of female cricketers.
We have produced some of the legends of the game. Shelley Nitschke, Karen Rolton, Lynn Fulston, and the current #1 bowler in the world, Megan Schutt. Andrea McCauley, our first full-time coach for our women's program. Alongside our captain, Lauren Ebsery, masterminded the Scorpions' first WNCL title, ending New South Wales' 10-year domination. A test match in Adelaide is special. It is the envy of every cricket ground in the world.
The most famous test match of the most famous test series was held at Adelaide Oval.
England take the field for Australia's first innings at Adelaide after having put 341 runs on the board themselves. It was at this point in the game that Woodfull was unfortunately struck on the heart by a ball from Larwood which got up. In consequence of these unfortunate incidents, Larwood is submitted to a good deal of barracking.
And who can forget the closest test match of all time, when Craig McDermott was caught behind with a single run required to tie the match in 1993 against a powerhouse West Indies team.
West Indians are delighted. Craig McDermott is so disappointed. It's been a magnificent effort by both sides.
Adelaide Oval has changed a lot over the years, and in 2013 we saw a dream turn into a reality. Ian McLaughlin and his board had a vision, and what a vision it turned out to be. The first test at the beautifully redeveloped Oval saw Mitchell Johnson destroy England.
The crowd are with Johnson. This is like the days of Lillian Thompson. In comes Mitchell Johnson now. Oh, how about it? How about it? It's barely believable. The Adelaide Oval's gone off, and so must Stuart Broad.
Taking 7 for 40 in one of the greatest displays of express pace ever seen. Keith Bradshaw pioneered the development of the pink ball whilst in charge of the Melbourne Cricket Club and Lords. But it wasn't until he became our chief executive that the world witnessed what Keith had envisioned, the first ever test match under lights in 2015.
The great Les Favell once spoke to Eric Freeman about a cricketer's role.
Fritzy said, those people are paid to come in, you're there to entertain them. And if we didn't score 300 in a day, we were in trouble.
Those words have run in our ears ever since. The rise of 2020 cricket has changed the game, but the desire to entertain remains the same.
Cricket's newest frontier took centre stage at Adelaide Oval with the birth of the Adelaide Strikers, the most attended team in the BBL. Travis Head, Alex Carey, Jake Weatherald, and who could have ever imagined the greatest and most popular player in the world, a young leg spinner from Afghanistan with Adelaide running in his veins.
Because I love the place, I love Adelaide and the fans and the team and everyone. I think it's a great honour for me being here and playing for the Strikers.
And at Karen Rolton Oval, providing a stunning stage for our WBBL Strikers and a festival atmosphere.
We've seen the lows, and celebrated the highs.
But there's only one cricket state that calls this man their own. We love this great game.
We've been here for 150 years.
And we're not even close to calling stumps.